So we're here with Mark Kleanthous. He's a multi-Ironman, multi-triathlete,
Yeah, I am,
and
yes.
you've done your endurance or long ultra marathons as well, ultra distance events.
I have, yes. I've done 450 triathlons, 35 Ironman races, 2 doubles and a triple, which took me 45 hours, 58 minutes and 29 grueling seconds.
There you go. If you wanted to know statistics, you got them right there. We're talking to Mark today because he's a professional athlete.
I am.
He periodises his training every time he's competing for an event, and fundamentally it's important to take recovery as well. Have you got tips for our instructors to understand what the signs and symptoms are of overtraining?
I have, and there is a fine line between, overreaching and overtraining, and end up falling down that precipice, and you're just absolutely exhausted. When we have the first signs, really, is when we have food, for example, and it doesn't give us the energy, and we still feel tired. That is the first key sign that you need to be aware of.
Okay.
And if that happens, then you reduce your calorie intake just a little bit. And if you crash and burn, or you get really tired, then you're almost on the zone of actually overtraining.
Okay.
And overtraining takes weeks, months, and in some cases it can take a year to actually recover from.
Okay, yeah.
Nutrition doesn't satisfy you, and you're still permanently hungry, you're either eating the wrong type of food, too much carb, and your body's craving protein, so you're still hungry, or more importantly, the energy is going to the muscles, but they're so depleted, you're just not recovering, and then you're going to overtrain,
Right.
and then you're not going to be able to work, and then you're not going to earn any money, and it's a vicious downward spiral.
So it's almost like monitoring how much food you're consuming as well. If certain days you're feeling hungrier than others, could that possibly be a sign of overtraining then?
Yes, it can. And if you actually eat too much food in one particular sitting and it sends you to sleep unusually, or it really makes you sluggish, the body is under so much stress to recover from the training, and then you're giving it this food that it's got to digest. The blood's being diverted to the stomach rather than the muscles, and then it just wears you out. Or if you get these mood swings where you digest the food, feel really good for 10 or even half an hour, and then you get tired again, you're just not regulating your nutrition on a regular basis, or you are generally risking overtraining. And remember, overtraining can take not weeks, it can take months to recover from. Thirst can be a great one as well.
Yeah.
If you've got permanent headaches and you're drinking lots of water, you're not actually satisfying your hydration levels, because it needs to be more electrolyte.
Yeah.
But more importantly, the body often needs more fluid, because it's trying to get the kidneys working a bit quicker to try and excrete any waste products, because deep inside, you are fatigued. Achy bones, achy joints, constant headaches. That's not necessarily dehydration. A great one is actually, I use a stair test. So basically, in the morning or after a session, you walk up and down. It has to be between 40 and 60 steps. You walk up and down nice and slowly, and you just have a little spreadsheet or on your phone a few key points, and they are basically: is it my breathing today that's being affected when I walk up and down? Because it shouldn't be. We're just walking up and down 40 or 60 steps.
Yeah.
Is it my legs are screaming as I'm going up and down? And that's a bad sign. That means that you're really deep fatigue. If your legs scream when you get to the top, it means maybe your nutrition wasn't very good post-race training, in between sessions, and nutrition will actually get you back on track.
And the long-term effects of overtraining, I guess they can be quite severe as well?
They're extremely severe. I mean, I've actually overtrained a couple of times, but obviously, once was an error. I always consider it, and if you do something twice, it's a mistake.
Right.
So that the second time, I really learnt from my mistakes. When I did the triple Ironman, for example, the 7.5 mile swim, the 3:36 mile bike, and the triple marathon, it took me 45 hours and 58 minutes. I was only up for 53 hours, but and then I felt so great after that race. I was buzzing, I thought I could take on the world. An Ironman would be a walk in the park. And so I started doing all these Ironman races, these marathon races, and I got slower and slower and slower.
Yeah.
And basically, my hair was, I haven't got much hair, but I had a bit more then, but it was falling out. I was permanently tired, my legs were screaming walking upstairs. I was getting restless leg syndrome, so at night, when I was sleeping, my body wasn't thinking it was cycling or running, they just couldn't get comfortable. They wanted to move, they wanted to keep the circulation going, they didn't want to lay still.
Feel very restless.
So restless legs are generally a sign of between overtraining and overreaching.
You've got some more tips in your book, of course.
I have. It's the complete book of triathlon training. It's everything you need to do your first triathlon, go faster, and more importantly, to stop you overtraining.
There you go. Great tips there inside the books from Mark. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
One last word. What advice would you give to the instructors who are experiencing the symptoms we've talked about today, but are still concerned that if they stop, they're not going to earn the money? What would you say to them?
Just be really, really careful. It's better to have 1 or 2 easy days, back off, and try and incorporate some rest and recovery. Sit down as much as you can. My philosophy is, if we're standing up and we've got the opportunity to sit down, I'll sit down. If I'm sitting down and I've got the opportunity to lie down, if I can lie down, I will sleep. Even a power nap, that will speed up the recovery.
There we go then. Power naps on the tube, power naps on the buses is the way forward then.
It is.
I think. But try not to lie on the floor on the bus floor. It might be a little bit dirty, right?
And certainly don't sleep when you're driving.
That's right. Thanks, Mark.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.